In the midst of a fierce storm on the Atlantic, the waves were as high as a wall of water, crashing against the bow of the ship. In the cold rain, the yellow lights on the deck flickered, illuminating the sunburned faces straining to hold the anchor rope. Hundreds of miles from shore, these men were not hunting for treasure. They were searching for the red gold of the sea. Each year, more than 100 million pounds of lobster are pulled from the cold waters of Maine, bringing in more than $500 million to the U.S. economy. But behind that iconic dish of luxury are days of facing life and death in the middle of the ocean, where the mortality rate is 23 times higher than the average of other professions. Go discover inside America's $500 million lobster harvest. Dangerous jobs at sea. Beneath the cold waves of the Atlantic, another world moves in silence. Dim light filters through the water, illuminating seaweed-covered rocks where crustaceans silently crawl through the crevices. That's Homarus americanus, the American lobster, a creature that Maine people call with all respect because it has fed them for generations. When they hatch, lobsters are less than an inch long, transparent as a drop of water, and easy prey for fish. Only 1 in 1,000 survives the first few weeks. If they are lucky enough to survive, they begin a process of constant molting, several times a year in their youth, then less frequently as they mature. Every molt is a gamble between life and death. The soft shell makes them almost helpless against predators, but it is also an opportunity to grow, to become harder, heavier, and stronger. That life cycle can last more than half a century, making lobsters one of the longest-lived and most resilient creatures in cold waters. With a hard shell-like armor, lobsters can live for more than 50 years and continuously grow throughout their lives by shedding their old shells, a journey of survival that repeats over and over again in the cold reefs. Instead of red blood like most species, they carry blue blood containing hemocyanin, which helps transport oxygen in harsh environments where temperatures range from only 41 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit. At the bottom of the sea, they dig burrows, ambushing small fish or mollusks, acting as both predators and natural scavengers of the ocean. On the coast of Maine, where cold water, limestone, and seaweed create the perfect environment, lobsters thrive more than anywhere else on Earth. 80% of America's lobster harvest comes from here, making the waters home to a multi-hundred million dollar industry. In the opaque water, the large claws waved like an affirmation of the sovereignty of the resilient creature, a living symbol of the cold ocean. Here, between the ebb and flow of the tides, the lobster is not just a creature, but the red gold of the ocean. And to hunt for that red gold, every day, thousands of people set out. From the quiet ocean floor, the story continues on the sea surface, where the arduous journey of those who turned lobsters from a wild symbol into the source of life for an entire land begins. Before dawn, the small ships left the harbor in a thick fog. At 3 in the morning, the wind from the Atlantic Ocean whipped against their faces, salty like the lives of those drifting at sea. On the deck, calloused hands tied ropes one by one, preparing for a long day of trapping. Hundreds of steel lobster traps, each weighing more than 50 pounds, were lined up on the deck, waiting to be released into the deep waters more than 200 miles offshore. The bait is fresh herring, hooked into the middle of the trap. When the fishy smell spreads, the lobsters will crawl in and have no way out. Each buoy has its own color, like the fingerprints of each fishing family, passed down from father to son for many generations. As the sun rose, brightly colored buoys bobbed on the silver waves. The engines roared, the winches whirred, heavy traps were pulled up. A large lobster, its claws raised, splashed in the water. Fishermen quickly classify. Those that are too small are released back into the sea. Females carrying eggs are marked with iron tongs and released so that the next generation can still reproduce. In Maine, conservation laws are strictly enforced. 3 million legally registered traps, 4.5 are operated every day, and no one dares to exceed the limit. Here, fishing is not about taking, it is about preserving. Each trip, they bring back about 400 to 600 pounds of lobster, enough for a day, enough to live on. The sound of the metal wire pulling harmonizes with the sound of waves, the steady breathing of people living by the sea. During years when lobster prices were high, some fishermen earned hundreds of thousands of dollars each season, a huge sum considering the small size of their boats. They work on small wooden boats, setting out early in the morning in thick fog, dropping hundreds of heavy steel traps. Each trap is connected to the water surface by ropes dozens of feet long. And those ropes are a deadly threat. Just one slip, a foot or arm gets caught in the rope, and the fisherman can be pulled straight down to the cold seabed with no chance of escape. The Maine coast may seem calm, but winter winds can change direction in an instant, turning calm waters into raging waves. As salmon season draws to a close, fishermen head to another legendary fishing ground, where thick fog hides a fishing boat graveyard, the Alaskan sockeye fishery. And when looking at the crates of dark red lobsters stacked on the deck, someone said half-jokingly, half-seriously, "People spend a few $100s to eat, but we trade the whole storm season to catch them." A seemingly light-hearted statement, but it contains the bitter truth of the profession. Once the boat docks, the real race begins. Crates of live lobsters are rushed into the factory in the freezing cold air. Here, the temperature is kept below 39 degrees Fahrenheit, where people and machines operate in a rhythm that is precise to the second. The conveyor belt hums nonstop, and hundreds of workers in white coats move between rows of stainless steel tanks. Lobsters are washed with artificial seawater, checked for size, weighed, and then separated into 3 different journeys, 3 destiny paths of a creature that once lived in the deep. A portion is selected for live serving. Each one is dipped in cold water, placed in a styrofoam box with gel ice, and labeled "Live Lobster, handle with care." Their journey begins in Maine, and they are shipped straight to Hong Kong, Shanghai, or Tokyo, where they become a delicacy on banquet tables within hours of leaving the sea. The rest enters the cold chain, where the temperature suddenly drops to negative 104 degrees Fahrenheit, locking in freshness right into every fiber. And finally, the fish are put through the processing process, steamed with high-pressure steam, peeled by machine, and packed in export standard vacuum trays. £40,000 of lobster a day in one factory alone. The industrial pace is cold, efficient, and almost impersonal. On the line, a labeling machine reads, "Product of USA." Pallets of lobster are stacked, wrapped in nylon, and lifted by crane onto containers. As the metal door slammed shut, the red light flashed, and the refrigerated container began to leave the port, carrying thousands of creatures that once lived on the seabed towards distant cities. From the frigid waters of Maine to the dining tables of five-star restaurants in Asia, the journey takes just 48 hours. A feat of cold storage technology, or a testament to how humans have turned the ocean into a production line? In a luxurious kitchen in the heart of Boston, blue flames illuminate the red lobster claws. The chef, in a pristine white coat, gently pours melted butter over the smooth meat, the sizzling sound blending with soft jazz music. In the dining room, candlelight reflected off the silver platter. Everything was so perfect that one forgot the dish had been hauled out of a storm at sea amid 19-foot waves and 50-knot winds. From the U.S., more than 40 countries import lobsters, making it a global symbol of luxury, a legitimate luxury nurtured by culinary taste and the cold commercial networks behind it. The lobsters are brought into state-of-the-art processing rooms where each step is carried out with precision and care. Modern machinery is used to deshell, shred the lobster meat, and remove any unusable parts. This process is carried out by skilled workers who move quickly but with precision, ensuring the quality of each lobster is kept intact. After being cleaned, the lobsters will be classified, and the high-quality lobsters will be kept intact to be processed into luxurious dishes. Workers continue to prepare the lobster meat for high-end rolls, a dish that is increasingly becoming a symbol of luxury, while smaller or substandard lobsters are used for other dishes or pre-cooked. The shiny knife cut through the meat, the butter smoke gradually dissipated into the air. The light was dim, the table was still unfinished, and somewhere the sound of distant waves still echoed, reminding that behind the sweetness of luxury was the saltiness of the ocean and human tears. Under the cold blue light of NOAA data maps, isotherms, temperature boundaries in the ocean, are moving northward like a silent warning. Maine's waters are warming faster than nearly anywhere else on Earth, and lobsters, which once dominated the cold waters, are starting to leave. They're moving upriver into Canada in droves, seeking cooler climes, leaving behind the fishermen who have depended on them for generations. Faced with this threat, Maine, once proud of being the lobster capital of the world, was forced to change to survive. Fisheries managers and fishermen began to work more closely than ever to build a sustainable fishing model. Meanwhile, oceanographic research institutes are experimenting with closed artificial lobster farms that control temperature and food sources to reduce pressure on nature. Because in Maine, the lobster is more than just a sea creature, it's a symbol of identity, of resilience, in the face of adversity. And now, in preserving the lobster, the people here are learning to preserve their own future. As dusk falls on the Maine coast, boats prepare to set sail, continuing their journey between survival and luxury. Each lobster on the table is a tribute to the sea, to humanity, and to a changing world. The ocean gives us more than we can imagine, but only if we appreciate it. If you love real stories about people in the ocean, subscribe to the channel to discover the magical journey behind every dish, every drop of sweat, and every wave at sea.